Hi there, it's Peter the Music Room. How you going? I thought I'd do a video in response to Mr. Hatch's the Musicchap. It's been a while since I've basically been wanting to do this for a little while. So I'm actually redoing what I started. Um, it's an Australian music thread. I first saw this on Catherine's 6653 channel as well. Hi Catherine. I thought I'll have a go at this. It may be a bit longer than the others. I'll try not to be too wordy, okay? But you know me, if you know me. All right, so I'm going to start off. What I'm going to attempt to do is show some albums and link them to other albums, okay? Past and present, or past and recent past, so to speak, and maybe to show links to other bands as well. Okay, so that's where I'm going to go with this. Okay, I'm going to start with Billy Thorpe. Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs. Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs were a band from the early mid 60s. They actually more mid 60s, probably in the wake of Beatlemania and the British invasion. The band themselves comprised some people that actually had been immigrants to Australia. Billy Thorpe himself had come from England. They comprised Billy Thorpe, lead vocals Vince Maloney, lead guitar, who went on to one of the Bee Gees later on in the late 60s. The guitarist Tony Barber on rhythm guitar, John Watson bass, and Colin Baker on drums. Now, they had a number of hits here in Australia. They actually had a hit with Poison Ivy. In fact, legendarily kept the Beatles out of #1 while they were touring here in Australia. That's the self-titled album. Billy Thorpe and the Aztecs on Parlophone and Mono. Billy Thorpe then went on to another career. The band broke up, I think, mid to late 60s, and then reformed in another form. Billy himself took up guitar when the guitarist that he'd had for a couple of years left, and he actually ended up taking up guitar himself. They became what is correctly known as the Sunbury Aztecs, but actually the Aztecs. They were just known as the Aztecs there for a long time without Billy Thorpe's name at the front of it. That is the Sunbury 72, or Aztec Live at Sunbury 1972. Sunbury was kind of our Woodstock here in Australia, held in Victoria, rural Victoria. That is a great live album. It's 8 tracks on there. One track, Oop-Oop-A-Doo, actually takes up all of side 4. That's on Havoc Records. That's actually a New Zealand press, I believe. They were actually made in New Zealand. That's the double album from that. They actually were around for another couple of years after that, maybe till about 1973, and then 74, and then they broke up, and Thorpe actually went on to a solo career. From there, we're going to go to another band called the Easy Beats, who a lot of people know about. Again, a band that this is a band completely comprised of migrants from overseas, a Brit, a couple of Scots, a couple of Dutch guys as well. They met in the Villawood Immigrant Hostel here in Western Sydney. They had a major career here in Australia, and then went on to England, of course, and tried their hand over there with mixed success. Had a huge hit with Friday on My Mind, which became their thing. They had a number of hits here, but a lot of these hits were actually written, composed by Stevie Wright and George Young initially, right? And then somewhere down the track, Vander and Young became a writing duo, and Stevie Wright, I won't say pushed aside, but yeah, something happened within the group that caused this. This is notable for a couple of tracks. Women Make Me Feel Alright. In my book, that was a double A-side single here in Australia. That's on Parlophone, Albert Productions. That's a mono as well. The only ever mono Easy Beats albums, I believe, what I've seen. But this is a great album. But in my book, and Women Make You Feel Alright. In my book, notable for Stevie in live performance, apparently rubbing onions in his eyes to induce tears for the drama. Okay, so anyway, there's that one. From there, the link from Albert's with George Young, of course, goes to his brothers Malcolm and Angus. ACDC's TNT. This is their second Australian album. this is how it was in Australia. TNT in America is a different form. It's a hybrid of the first and second album. The first album being High Voltage. In America, High Voltage is I think it's High Voltage. I think it's High Voltage in TNT 74. I'm not sure how the US discography works. I've got the box set here. I've got to go back over it, but it's confusing. The AC/DC albums, for some reason, the early ones, particularly the Albert's Rude labels, they are collectible. I don't know why they're collectible or makes them collectible, but apparently they are. This is the second album. It's just straight ahead rock and red rock. Nothing complicated about it, as we know. It's got TNT. It's got High Voltage. It's got a couple of School Days. Long Way to the Top, if one rock and roll. Yeah, great album, but you know, pretty much more of the same as they went through their career. I think you could arguably say that they made the same album 18 times, maybe, but as Angus would say, well, why mess with the formula? Of course we did. Okay, now the link to AC/DC, their drummer, we'll just go back to that in a minute. Their drummer was Phil Rudd, who is seen right there, in that colour there. Phil Rudd was in a band before this in Melbourne called Buster Brown, like so, on the original Mushroom label, like so. But this is a fairly straight ahead standard Aussie rock album. Nothing really spectacular, just nothing subtle about it, just 3-chord rock. But Buster Brown featured not only Phil Rudd, but also a gentleman named Angry Anderson, who went on to Rose Tattoo. Okay, Rose Tattoo had also another. Rose Tattoo came out around about the time of when the punk movement, but they weren't a punk band, but they're just straight ahead 3-chord rock band. You know, another member of that band was Pete Wells, and Pete Wells was previously the bass player with Buffalo. Buffalo were a heavy rock band, kind of in the realms of like a Deep Purple, a Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep, in that kind of scheme of things. Though their lyrics are pretty bit more science fiction-y, bit more tales. I think some of it actually based on the Dune album, on the Dune book. Sorry, they had a song called Dune Messiah at one point. Great stuff. This is Volcanic Rock. This is probably their best album. Dave Tice, amazing vocalist. Dave Tice is actually still performing and has a band called Buffalo Revisited, who have performed live Buffalo tracks live, and even performed this album in full at one point. I've got the insert here, and this one's got a lyric insert actually signed by Dave Tice. Had the pleasure of meeting him. Where is it? It's actually in here. And I promised him that I would not sell it, which I don't sell these things. But in there somewhere is a signature from Dave Tice. He actually signed the insert to Only Want You for Your Body as well. So that's Dave Tice. That's Buffalo. Buffalo, classic band, 4-piece band. Okay, changing text. We'll get leap back into the 60s again for a bit to a band called the Twilights. The Twilights featured Glenn Shorrock. Glenn Shorrock was a lead vocalist. Again, an Englishman. The Twilights were a covers band. They were influenced very much by the British invasion. In fact, they even performed Beatles songs very identically. Okay, they had a number of hits here in Australia. Needle in a Haystack, cover that. What's Wrong with the Way I Live, which was a Holly song. The way they played, Kathy Come Home, 950. All right. Anyway, they moved on from that after they broke up. They tried their hand in England as well without much success. They went on to evolve. Now, part of that, Glenn Shorrock ended up in a band called Axiom. That's that there. With another gentleman named Brian Cadd, whose albums I should have pulled out. Brian Cadd was a singer-songwriter, would form the Bootleg label here in Australia. There's a band that I'll show in a minute who recorded on that album, that label. Axiom had a couple of hits: Arkansas Grass, Ford Bridge, Little Ray of Sunshine, beautiful track. Shuriken came with the lead vocalist. There was also Don Moody, who was actually also a lyricist, co-songwriter with Brian Cadd. Axiom broke up and eventually evolved with another band called Mississippi, who featured Graham Goble, who joined forces with another gentleman named Bev Birtles, who was in the Zoot, and they formed Mississippi. Were a band, quite a soft rock band. They were pop rock more than anything else. But Graham Goble went on from here. They had a hit with Kings of the World. Sweet World was another track off that. They had another single called Early Morning, which is a great track, but don't think it did do much. I've got the single here. They eventually evolved with the remnants of Axiom into Little River Band, who, if you're in America, you know who they are. In fact, Australia knows who they are. This is actually an album called Masterpiece. It's a 3 LP compilation, but it's a compilation of deep cuts. It's actually not real hits on this thing. A couple of familiar things: Days on the Road, People Made Of, Hard Life, Middleman. They comprise. This is actually quite a nice album. Yeah, look, if you want to go into deeper cuts, this is really quite nice. LRB, of course, had success in America, major success in America. One of their most successful exports. We're going to show lift that band, and he was actually replaced by another gentleman named John Farnham, a singer who at the time had a pop career in the late 60s, early 70s, and mid 70s. Though eventually got consigned to the kind of the club circuit mainly. Okay, he had a great singer, right? And that's one of the albums he released under the name Johnny Farnham. He eventually joined LRB, right? He was managed by the same people that same gentleman who managed LRB. There was Glenn Wheatley. It was a no-brainer to put him in the band. It was an experiment that probably should have worked a lot better than it did. There's one great album he released called Uncovered, but didn't really do a lot. Great vocalist, probably one of our best here in Australia. Eventually, Farnham left the band, left LRB, went solo. Wheatley put a lot of money into backing Farnham, and came up with, in fact, apparently mortgaged his house to get this album out. Came up with Whispering Jack. Whispering Jack is a great album, and it revived Farnham's career and gave him a new life. And of course, he went on from that. Sadly, Farnham, John, has got an illness, unable to sing anymore. I believe he had an operation on his throat. So yeah, he's at the moment unable to, or on his jaw, I believe, unable to sing at the moment, which is a shame. He was a massive talent. Okay. From there, we go on to Sherbet. We're going into the 70s now. Sherbet were a pop rock band, a major pop rock band here in Australia. Featured these 5 guys: Braithwaite, Del Braithwaite, Clive Shakespeare, Alan Sandow, Garth Porter, keyboards, Tony Mitchell. They were hugely successful here in Australia. Clive Shakespeare eventually left the band to be replaced by Harvey James from Ariel. They had a massive following, mainly teenage girl following, but they were huge here in Australia. Don't think they did much in Australia. In America, sorry, they had to change their name. They changed their name to Highway in America for whatever reason. I think it was more commercially viable, they reckoned. Don't know how that worked out. Anyway, that was actually one of the first albums I ever got. It was actually a Christmas present. I think the 3rd album I ever acquired. That's from 1973. On with the show, and that was kind of a framework of what their live show was kind of like at the time. The cover version of Chicago by Graham Nash, which features some keyboard work reminiscent of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, particularly from Pictures and Exhibition. There's a keyboard patch in there that I heard in Pictures and Exhibition that I'd heard before on this album. So I saw Pictures and Exhibition after I'd got that album. From there, we're going to jump ahead a little bit. Actually, which will be not jump ahead, but let's actually go. No, I'll jump ahead a little bit to Cold Chisel. Now, Cold Chisel, legendary Australian band. That's East. That's their third album. Probably the big one that probably their biggest album at the time. Actually includes a bonus single, a live version of Knock on Heaven's Door, back with a song called Party's Over, which is a non-LP track. The tracks on here, Standing on the Outside, Never Before, Choir Girl, Rising Zone, My Baby, Tomorrow, Tip Wine, Star Hotel, Four Walls, My Turn to Cry, Ida. All of these are hugely well known here in Australia. They didn't really break it in America. America didn't know what to do with them. The record company didn't know what to do with them, unfortunately. But they were straight ahead, no frills, Aussie rock band, working, they were hard working. Their stage was just bare bones, lights, music, no backdrops, just them, the band, music, nothing else. And I was at their very last show before they broke up, and then they've actually reformed. I had reformed a couple of times, recorded a couple more albums, and then now they've just celebrated 50 years. They've just done a 50th anniversary Big 50 tour, which a live album and DVD and CD have been released, which I've got. So yeah, so that's Cold Chisel. After Cold Chisel broke up in 1983, Jimmy Barnes, the lead singer, went solo. That's his first solo album, but he's actually had an ongoing career since then. Gravity voice, hard-working, no subtlety about Barney, you know what you're going to get with him. This is a Daylight, Promise Me, of course, you're on there, No Second Prize. Some of these tracks were re-recorded and released on his second album, which is kind of a mini album. There's some remixes on that called For the Working Class Man. It's actually been remastered and reissued only recently. Actually, it's just come out now in recent times, or it's on its way out now. That's the Barnes' debut album. But also another member of that band was Ian Moss, the guitarist, who of a gifted soulful voice as well. It's Ian Moss's debut album, Matchbook. Again, it's a brilliant album. I love it. Had a major hit with Tucker's Daughter. Telephone Booth is another track off that. Mr. Rain. It's quite a great album. Quite a great album. That's the CD version of that. I don't have the vinyl of that. From there, and I think I've lost my spot. Staying in the 80s, got a band called the Sunny Boys. The Sunny Boys evolved out of a band called the Shy Imposters, who had a short-lived career with one single. Had a lead vocalist named Penny Ward, but two of the guys in this band, in the Shy Imposters, were Richard Bergman and Peter Oxley, who went on to form the Sunny Boys with Jeremy Oxley, Pete's brother, and another gentleman by the name of, and I did this before, Bill Bilson, who's the drummer. He's actually an old mate of theirs too. That's the yellow version. This album was released in two forms. The yellow vinyl, which I've got here, which is what that is, and also a blue version, which there's a difference here because the yellow version is missing Happy Man, and there's another track on here called Tell Me What You Say, I think, on that album. Happy Man is actually on the blue version. That's the CD version of that. The Shy Imposters single actually reminiscent of the Sunny Boys. You can actually see the direction they went from that into the Sunny Boys. Not that different to that. So there's them. Straight ahead post-punk, or not post-punk. They kind of hit around the time of the punk new wave movement. So there's a lot of guitar work, fast-paced music, typical of new wave at the time. Another band from that era, which the amazing thing with them was that first saw them in a Battle of the Bands at North Sydney at St Leonard's Park. It was actually Ram magazine who organised this. and Radio Birdman had made the final with that. Radio Birdman had a major cult following at the time here in Sydney. My mate Andre, this mate Andre, and I went and saw them. Went and saw the this contest. These guys come out, and here we are. We're entrenched in Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, that kind of stuff. And we see these guys come out, and they just blew our minds. We didn't know anything about them, who they were, what they were about. Had no idea about their influences. They, like the Stooges and MC5 and those groups. No idea whatsoever. This is the first album. This actually released in an earlier form, which is apparently quite collectible. This is the reissue that was made more commercially available. That is the American version, which has been released here in Australia as well. This features a single, Aloha Stephen Dano. Some of the tracks here are different compared to the two. Aloha Stephen Dano is notable for a guitar solo which borrows from Hawaii Five-O, the theme. And unfortunately, Dennis Tech, the band, actually got sued over that. So there's some legal issues attached to that. But that's the American version with some differences between the tracks. That is an unbelievable album. That is just full on 100 mile an hour. If you punk garage rock, that is just amazing. And again, it took me right out of my comfort zone. Quite amazing. Staying in the era, we'll go to Paul Kelly. Now, Paul Kelly and the Dots. Paul Kelly had a band called with the Dots. Had quite a hit with Billy Baxter and Hard Knocks, and also I think what was the other one? There was another one called Want You Back, I think, or The Lowdown. Anyway, that was an early album that Paul Kelly had out. It's on the Mushroom label. He went on to then, after that band broke up, he released a solo album called Post, and this would be the direction he would take. Singer-songwriter. Some of the tracks from here, from St Kilda to King's Cross, in South Dowling, Adelaide, a few of these others, little sections would pop up on other albums later on, reimagined. That album Post would lead to eventually him forming the band The Coloured Girls, and this is the double album. There is also the CD version, but the CD version has 21 tracks. This got 24. As was common at the time with the CD and double album thing, some record companies would actually release an album, a CD, at a reduced track number to keep it to a single CD. I mean, Paul McCartney's All the Best was another example of that, where they had a double LP and a single CD, so it was missing 3 tracks from that. That way they could keep the price down and keep it down to a single CD. This is missing. This is as a 24 track LP, double LP. That's the gatefold. Coloured Girls was the name of the band originally, and then I think for Paul to have success in America, he needed to change the name to The Messengers. Political correctness at the time, because of the connotation of the name Coloured Girls in America at the time. So he changed the name to The Messengers. They've had a few albums. Paul's actually also then since gone on and had a solo career as well, away from the Coloured Girls and Messengers. I think they've broken up, been a split, and he wanted to do his own thing from there. Another link to that, on the same label, Mushroom Records, we have Jojo Zepp and the Falcons. And Jojo Zepp and the Falcons, led by Joe Camilleri, a Maltese boy who I've met. I met him at the Rockwiz touring show last year. It was actually quite an amazing experience to be sitting on the same team as Joe Camilleri. Even got to talk to him and say hello in Maltese to him, which was quite something. That is the limited edition version of Screaming Targets. Has a live album on it in there as well. That's got a number of notable tracks called with Hit and Run, Don't Want to Come Down, Shape 'Em In, another hit single here in Australia. This is an American version, a couple of differences in the track listing. There, so it's on the American Columbia label. Found this by chance. Actually, I was given a whole heap of records by my sister's partner, and he was clearing his record collection out. And they came and they found a home here. I made room, but the space is expanded. Anyway, that's another story. That's the American version of Screaming Targets. Different cover art, some track differences as well. I think there's actually a couple of different tracks in that. That's got 10. I think there's actually one difference on the track here, and I think the problem is You Want to Come Down, Catch Shara. So Young is on here. There's a track called So Young, which replaced You Made a Fool of Me. Otherwise, it's the same album. So Young was also I believe covered by Elvis Costello in England. So yeah, so there's that. Joe Camilleri, the band would evolve into JoJo Zepp without the Falcons, and then eventually evolve into it would actually resurface in a band called the Black Sorrows. And the Black Sorrows are another legendary band here in Australia. This is the most recent album. This has just come out, as in the last few days, last Friday, I believe. This is the quintessential JoJo Zepp, quintessential Black Sorrows. It's on black vinyl. Covers. It's a career retrospective. Goes into some of their later things. St George's Road. What Difference a Day Makes is on there. But it goes from the earlier period through to here. But it's a 21 track album, double album. Quite a nice thing to have. Quite nice, nicely embossed silver print on that. Okay, and as I said, that's the gatefold. That's their albums actually. So there's a number of albums that I don't even know about that I lost track of the Black Sorrows along the way, which I need to investigate. The last thing I got was actually The Way We Do Business, and I only got that recently. I just found it in JB Hi-Fi and picked it up, and it's quite a nice one. That's volumes 1 and 2 of the Quintessential. So from there, we're going to again leap back a little bit into the Lady Dars. Now, the Lady Dars are a New Zealand band, were a New Zealand band. They were formed in the 60s. They from around they formed in New Zealand. They were a New Zealand band. And I understand that they recorded these from about mid-60s through to the early 70s. They broke up in 1973. The last single they had here was Too Poop to Pop, when they actually were down to a 3-piece. They were a 5-piece. That's the cover. Liner notes by Glenn A. Baker, Rock Brain of the Universe. Quite a comprehensive album. It featured Phil Key and Kev Burrish, two guitarists. Phil Key would go on to would leave Band of Light in 1973-ish and form Band of Light, who had a couple of albums. They were kind of a progressive blues, boogie sort of band. This is a 6-track album, had a single with Destiny Song. Saw them in concert once, pardon me. They actually supported Sherbet on the show tour. Notable for the drummer actually having an incident where he actually keeled over and couldn't continue playing. This is about 4 songs in, Tony Bittell. Actually, he told me all about that. He told me what happened, and turned out he helped someone move house and injured his stomach muscles and aggravated it while playing the gig. He thought he could play the gig and ended up having to opt out part way through. And they did actually get a replacement drummer for the later show that night, a guy named Keith Barber. Anyway, he was actually from the Lady Dars, ironically. So that was Total Union. That was like they were kind of short-lived. They appeared at Sunbury in 1973. Norm Rowe from the band ended up in Buffalo. later on as slide guitarist. But the other guy I mentioned, Kevin Burridge, guitar hero extraordinaire, great guitarist. He was actually well respected. He jammed with people like Carlos Santana. There was a major concert, Rock Arena, where Kevin Burridge Express were playing in support of, I think, the little of the band were on that show. Santana, Fleetwood Mac were on that show. I don't know if LRB were on that, but Santana and Fleetwood Mac were on that. And Kevin Burridge was invited to jam with Carlos Santana. This is a great album. This is the debut of Kevin Burridge Express. Saw them a few times live, particularly Strata Motorin, and also in concert at different places, like the Wooden Pavilion, on different lineups. Great tracks here: Snowball King, Going Somewhere, Going Downtown. Great drumming from John Anderson. This thing featured Tim Partridge as well. Kevin would also collaborate with the late great Renee Geyer, our blues singer extraordinaire. This is an album called Blues License that she recorded. 8-track. Some of these tracks, 4 of these tracks, were recorded with Kevin Burridge Express, as well as some of the other members in the band. Mel Logan and Mark Punch were on this album as well. Kerry Bedell, same background vocals. This is a great album as well. I listened to it recently. But I actually saw Renee and Kevin performing at the Strata Motorin in Cremorne in support of this album. Great stuff. Okay, just jumping back into the late 70s, early 80s, we'll go into the Angels. The Angels, that's a Face-to-Face album. That's their second album, actually, not their first one, but this is probably one of the most famous. This is the Angels, to describe them. Their parents were timely. The punk new wave movement was around. They fit right in. Their music was like 100 miles an hour. Well, it's fast-paced rock. Dr. Nisson, the frontman, was a very enigmatic, great voice, amazing frontman. He had a stage presence. Very tall man, very aristocratic in the way he dressed. He wore a suit with a cravat, I believe. But yeah, he wore a suit with a vest. Very aristocratic. The brothers, the Brewster brothers, would just stand there. I think Chris Barley would just stand there and just play like glasses. The rest of the band were just very nondescript in the way they acted on stage, but they were just full on great band, legends. They were in Australia, Australian rock. They had records released in America under the name Angel City. There was another band called Angel and it required the Angels to change to Angel City. They had a few albums released over there. I'm not sure exactly how they went. I don't know if they went that great. They were on Albert's at one point originally, and then shifted tack onto Epic Records, and then I ended up Mushroom much later. But that's Face-to-Face. That is a fantastic album. Straight Jacket, Up for the Rain. It just bang as we go along. Live It Up. Take a Long Line was a major hit here in Australia. Marseille, I Ain't the One, Coming Down. Yeah, great album. Okay, and then on the same era, we're going to go with My Sex. Now this is actually a slightly later release. Features a single called Computer Games, but originally a single wasn't on there. My Sex were a Kiwi band, fronted by the late Steve Gilpin. I believe died in a car accident, unfortunately. This album didn't have Computer Games on originally. That was a non-LP single for a while, and then for whatever reason it was issued at first initially included with the album as a spare single, as an extra bonus single, and then later pressings decided to add it to the album proper. This is again another one of those albums where the side one, I go bang exactly what that is. Graffiti Crime, What Do You Want, But You Don't Care, which was a hit single. Not Such a Bad Boy, still just a great full-on album. The keyboard driven, but with great guitar. Steve Gilpin's vocals, just fantastic. That's Graffiti Crimes, which will be written on the wall. Great album. Okay, staying in New Zealand, we're going to go to Split Enz. Now, Catherine, if you're watching this, I mentioned True Colours on your video, because you showed it. Now, that's my version of the True Colours album by Split Enz. That's an original from 1980, so late 79, 80. That's the red and black album with the green. That's my original, slightly torn, unfortunately, on the sleeve. This was issued in a number of different forms, in cover-wise. I think about, well, I saw Catherine mentioned there was on a reply to my message to her. She mentioned 11 different covers. I also recently acquired in that same haul that I found from my sister's partner, this one, which is also a unique laser etched version, limited edition, coloured vinyl, laser etched vinyl. This has actually got a different catalogue number to the other one I've got. I believe this came out a couple of years later. That's laser etched. Now I haven't played this yet, but that's the spectacular laser etched. There was also a 45 issued in England. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was actually from this as well. It might have been I Got You. It might have been something else. I'll have to actually have a look at it. It might have been What's the Matter with You. But I'll have a look at it, find out for sure what it is. But I know the single's in here somewhere, but I'm not going to try and dive in looking for it because it's probably down here somewhere. But that's the laser etched version of that album. This is a great album by Split Enz. Probably the album that really broke them. It was a real breakthrough album for them. They'd had two or three albums prior to this, and this one was the one that broke them. But yeah, that's the laser etched version with a different colour, and that's the one, my original on Mushroom from '79. Yes. By the catalogue number, I'm thinking that this is probably about 4 or 5 years after. It's yeah, so it's a different catalogue number. So there's that. Of course, Neil Finn would go on later on after Split Enz broke up and formed Crowded House. But before I go to him, another member of Split Enz was Neil's brother, Tim, who actually was in the band originally. Neil Finn joined after. This is Tim Finn after he left Split Enz. This is actually the album called Escapade. And had a hit with Fraction Too Much Friction. Made My Day, Not For Nothing, a great track. Staring at the Embers. Had a number of different hits from this. A couple of B-sides as well that are notable from the singles. This is a really, really good album. This is Escapade, which is Tim Finn's solo debut from around 1983. Tim left the band, I think a couple of years before the band actually broke up. On top of that, after Split Enz broke up, we would get Crowded House. And Crowded House were admittedly actually successful band. Trio comprising of Neil Finn, Nick Seymour, who's the brother of Mark Seymour, from Hunters and Collectors, another legendary Australian band. Another album's up here by Hunters and Collectors, and also recently acquired a CD box set, really quite a nice one, called I think it was Archaeology. It was actually no, I can't remember the name of the box set, but it's quite amazing in the way it was presented. This, of course, was a breakthrough, big breakthrough for the Crowded House. Paul Hester was also the drummer from that band. Paul was from Split Enz as well. And Nick Seymour, as you said, Mark Seymour's brother. Nick was on bass. But, you know, the hits here, Mean to Me, Well Where You Live, Don't Dream It's Over, superb track, Something So Strong. You know, so many hits off this thing. And then they would go on and have enjoyed more success as they went along. At one point, Tim did join the band, I think on the second or third album, from memory. They had a hit with Chocolate Cake. He would join the band and then leave as well. But yeah, so there you have it. I'm going to finish off with one more band, the legendary Hoodoo Gurus. Now, I've been acquiring Hoodoo Gurus vinyl, the reissues. I never actually had them on vinyl before, except for one album, Kinky. This is coloured vinyl. They've been remastered. This one's got Bittersweet. This is actually My Deep Guitar. This is the second album. Bittersweet, Poison Pen, Like Wow, Wipeout, great track. My Deep Guitars, this is a great album. In fact, as I said, I've got the albums up here. They've all been reissued, remastered on coloured vinyl. I never had them on vinyl before this. I only ever had the best of, which was Electric Soup, which is all the singles, and the B-sides, Gorilla Biscuit. So yeah, but this is great straight ahead rock. Saw the Hoodoos last year with my partner Kate. I had never seen them before in concert. There was a standing room at the Enmore Theatre. Just a great show. So yeah, and again, pretty much no frills, no fuss with the band. They put on a great show. So yeah, so there you have it. Now, I could name any number of bands to go with all this. As it is, I'm going to 41 minutes. Wow. I'm surprised that I've gone this long, and I didn't mean to go this long. But yeah, I could name any number of bands, and it's a mind-boggling number of Australian acts we've had that I could have put in here. The Divinyls, Hunters and Collectors, yeah, a whole lot of different people that I could have included here. Skyhook's another one, you know. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. We have had so much talent here in Australia. We still do have so much talent. You know, a band like Airborne as well. Lately, a few years back. You know, but anyway, that's my take on it. I didn't intend for this to be this long, but I've actually had a few goes at making this video, and now it was a case of freeing up some space on my phone to do it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was educational, and I hope it didn't ramble on too long. But if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for staying with me. If you like this content, hit like, subscribe. Please leave a comment as well. I'd love to hear from you, and I will answer your comments as best I can. I really appreciate seeing them. My videos haven't been frequent lately. I've been trying to make more videos. I've had a few things going on in my life, as I explained in the last video, but this was a fun thing to do, and I enjoyed it. So again, thank you, and I shall hopefully see you soon. Again, as I said, hit like and subscribe, ring the bell for notification, and talk to you soon. Bye guys. Stay safe wherever you are in the world. Bye bye.